We watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
So hold on to your hearts
and get some chilled monkey brains for this episode.
Hello, welcome to Visual Recreation. I'm Drew, and here is my co-host Joey. How you doing, Joey?
That's right. I'm doing well. How are you?
I don't know. My stomach's a little messed up. I think it's that snake surprise I heard earlier today.
Yeah, that would do it. Now, as you heard in the beginning, we watched Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as we continue our review critique series on the Indiana Jones film franchise.
That is correct. Now, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom is the second movie in this franchise, and it premiered in May of 1984.
That's right. Now, this movie takes place in 1935, where Indiana Jones and friends Willie Scott and Short Round make their way to a remote Indian village, and they decide to help the village by retrieving the sacred stones. Now, they make their way to the Pankok Palace, where they get, or where they find child slavery, black magic, voodoo, and human sacrifice. Now, they have to go toe-to-toe in one of the most dangerous adventures yet.
That is correct. Now, Temple of Doom was written by Willard Huyck and Gloria Katz. The story was done by George Lucas, and this was directed by Steven Spielberg. In its opening weekend, it earned roughly $25 million, or close to $25 million, tripling Raiders of the Lost Ark's opening weekend. However, Temple of Doom only made around $333 million in its worldwide run, which is about 30 to 32 million less than what Raiders did in its total worldwide run. Now, Joey.
Yeah.
I'm turning it over to you.
Okay.
What'd you think of Temple of Doom, and how many times have you watched it before making this video?
All right. Well, I've watched this movie a lot. I mean, not as much as Raiders of the Lost Ark or Last Crusade, but overall thoughts of the movie, it was pretty good. Out of the original 3 Indiana Jones, probably not my favorite one. We'll get into that later, but overall thoughts, the original 3. I know there's 4. I like 3. Anyways, we'll get into that later on, but overall thoughts, the movie had the comedic timing that I like, that I'm used to from Indiana Jones. It had the adventure in it. It had the mystery, the shock factor. It had a lot of shock factor in this movie. A lot of gross things.
Yes.
A lot heavier on like the darker side magic stuff going on in this one.
Yes.
But yeah, overall thoughts, it was alright.
Alright, I think you summed it up with it was alright, because that's how I'm going to describe this video or this movie. I have to say that this is my first time watching it all the way through, Temple of Doom.
Okay.
And I have to say I did not like it as much as Raiders of the Lost Ark. But before we get into more of what I didn't like, because I do have a lot to nitpick about this movie.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about some of the stuff that we did like from this movie.
Okay.
What was some of the things that you felt that this movie did well to you, and how it stayed with the Indiana Jones theme? Now, it's only the second movie, so there's not a lot to go off of from just one movie to the next, but what do you think it did well?
I mean, you still got the little hints of different things that you learned about Indy in the first movie, even though it wasn't a lot of it like in the first movie. For example, the snakes, you still got his fear of snakes, which was comedic timing, or a comedy thing on that part because they're out in the jungle. You got Willie running around. She's freaking out over everything. All the different animals. She runs into an owl. She gets freaked out. I think there was a giant lizard, Komodo dragon type thing. She picked up a vampire bat at one point, and then Indiana Jones and Short Round are just trying to gamble and play cards, and she's freaking out the whole time. And then she grabs the snake, not realizing it's a snake.
She thought it was the elephant or something.
Thought it was the elephant because the elephant kept messing with her. and then it shows Indy freaking out.
But she pulls it off and then throws it, so I don't know how she thought it was the elephant.
She just thought she was removing the trunk, you know.
No, she went like this and threw it that way.
I know.
She threw it that way.
Okay. Don't rip it apart yet. I enjoyed it. I liked the comedy behind a lot of the scenes. I did like the opening scene in this movie as well when they were in Shanghai in the club. I didn't like it as much as the Raiders of the Lost Ark opening. But I mean, I enjoyed it. Was it the best opening? Not really. I mean, you did have, well, I'll get into that in the parts that I didn't like. But I don't know. I like the comedic timing. I like the action. I did enjoy some of the gross parts with the bugs and yeah. I don't know. I'm not being very descriptive because I give this movie an all right. Go ahead. Is there anything that you like?
I like the overall adventure of it. I do like the addition of Short Round. I liked him as a character. I liked the way he added to the story. I thought the overall adventure, different scenery than what we got with Raiders was really fun to watch. And I like that they tested things. Like, they really pushed the envelope from what the first movie was to now in Temple of Doom. And, I mean, Harrison Ford did a good job acting with what he was given. And that's basically all I can say about this movie. Well, I mean, I really enjoyed about it.
I also appreciate them delving into different, like, a different religion and exploring the history of that and coming up with something that they could work with as far as, like, fighting off the dark voodoo magic in the first one, Ark of the Covenant, and the powerful aspects behind that. So they're jumping into a different realm here. So that kind of it absolutely creates a different adventure. So I appreciate that about the movie. Now, do you want to go into some aspects that we didn't like?
Now, I thought you would never ask, Joey. First of all, I did not like about this movie is that it's a prequel. This is the second movie in a franchise, and it's already going back a year, which I did not care for. I did not like the opening sequence.
Okay.
We went from Indiana Jones, a different Indiana Jones, than from what we saw in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where we got him in his element. He is going for something that was, like, going to work throughout the rest of the story.
Okay.
Whereas this opening, he was in a white tux, in a club. I thought I was watching a James Bond movie, not necessarily with an Indiana Jones movie. He is trying to barter a diamond, and then he has to get he was like a Mr. Magoo at one point, trying to get the poison remedy into his system. He is kidnapping a woman, and he and Short Round and the woman are now jumping out of an airplane. I thought the airplane scene was cool. I wish we could have just started from there.
So the raft was believable.
No, he's still the luckiest person in the world. But at least that's where he's, like, in his normal attire, and he is jumping into a new adventure where I thought, like, okay, we're in the streets of wherever we are.
It shows him being who he is in the beginning, because he already went after something, and he had his assistant that was pretending to be a waiter bring it over, and he was bringing that in exchange for the diamond.
So that dude just died.
Well, yeah, I mean the champagne was popping. Perfect time to take someone out.
No. I'm so disappointed with that opening. And I get it. You can't have lightning in a bottle twice.
Yeah.
Because the first opening of Raiders...
It was so mysterious and...
It's iconic. To where now you have Temple of Doom and you're like, what is this? A Mission Impossible movie? Is this a movie that we've done over and over again? Like, we get it. Indiana Jones is like James Bond.
Okay.
It's like that. Like, I get it. But he's doing something different than James Bond. He's not trying to do all that stuff. Come to find out, he's just doing all that stuff. And it's like, no, I don't want that in my Indiana Jones movie. Get him in his element and progress the story there. It was like this whole beginning was just to get him in a different village with these two people so he can have a love interest throughout the movie, which he didn't need.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Short Round with him, which he could have just had him hanging out with him.
Yeah, or found him in the village somehow or something or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the thing with the opening scene that bothered me, because I mean I thought it was okay, like it wasn't the greatest opening scene because it did kind of die off like once the plane was gone, like none of that mattered because he was finally at the village starting the story.
It really had nothing to do with anything.
But those were some of the worst ninjas, fighters, whatever you want to call them, in the history. Like the guys that came in, that was like the Chinese like Scarface with the Tommy gun, and then the ninjas that tried to fight him whenever like the diamond was sliding around on the floor in the antidote. Like they really didn't do anything to Indiana Jones. He he bent over, they jumped and rolled off his back, and like and then the gong that fell, and he was running behind the gong, and the Tommy gun was being shot at. You could see the holes being created. None of that hit him?
No, he's the luckiest man in the world. He has, again, 75% luck and 20% skill and 5% just like sweat. That's it. That's all.
We were doing the song again.
I'm about to.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's not my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I mean, I thought some of the visuals were interesting. Some of the gross factor and the shock moments where they're watching the sacrifice, and then Indy goes down to get the rocks, and then you have the people jump up out of nowhere and grab Short Round and Willie. Like those are some exciting scenes. Like if you're watching it, I know I was watching my wife watch it, and she jumped at certain moments. So there's some different shock factors and jump scare moments in this that's fun. The scene on the bridge where Indy cuts the rope and they sling against the side of the cliff, I thought that was fun. I thought the movie had its fun and funny moments in it, but not my favorite. It's nothing like Raiders of the Lost Ark, so I agree. He's more in his element in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I think that
more explorer-ish, adventurer.
I think once we get into the actual meat of the film, like when he goes to the palace, that's when we're really in the story starts picking up.
It does.
And that's where I think that's where you like the railroad scenes where he's when they're on the
when they're in the mine cars. Yes, they should have turned that into a ride at a theme park somewhere.
Yeah, except
that would be a cool ride.
Except this movie didn't do as well as Raiders, so they weren't going to do that.
Right. So I mean, the closest we get is the Indiana Jones experience, which I've talked about.
And who doesn't like kid-on-kid fighting? Like we got we got the king,
Short
and
Round.
then we got Short Round, and you got them fighting each other.
Maharaja,
and then he's branding the little kid with fire to snap him out of his little thing.
It's not brand. Well, he's just like burning him.
Yeah, burn him.
Just
burn him. Yeah,
it's not cattle.
Hey, people brand.
Listen, all right. Another thing that I have issue with.
What?
Is the little Maharaja kid guy pulls out a voodoo doll with a little leather jacket and a hat. When did he have time to make that? Did they already know that Indy was coming? Like, did they explain how he made it, how fast he made it?
Maybe.
Like, he just pulled out the perfect doll with a little hat on it.
Maybe at the dinner, he had his handmaidens. One of the handmaidens, he was like, we need a doll for everybody at the table just in case.
Could be.
Yeah.
They make that doll pretty quick.
I don't know, but that dude got squashed like the guy from Roger Rabbit.
Oh, yeah, he got pulled under the rock crusher, yes. Yeah, that was pretty gruesome. Some pretty gruesome things happen in this movie. Ripping a dude's heart out.
Yeah, and guess what? It's PG.
Fire.
It's PG.
Dude, it was pretty dark for PG. Wow, okay.
Well, PG-13 didn't exist until August of 1984.
Okay.
Where the first PG-13 movie was made, which was Red Dawn. That came out in August of 1984. This one came out, like I said, May.
Right.
So it's a couple of months ahead,
Yeah.
and you know that Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were like, we can't make this R. Like, we need this PG. So whatever you need to do, MPA, make it PG, please.
Yep, they just cleared the mark. Burning people alive with their heart ripped out.
Look, you can rip out one heart, but you can't do two. We can't push that to PG, and then it's like, oh, I guess.
Yeah. Did you see the sunburn on her face? Well, the lava burn on her face when they pulled her out?
Yeah.
You think it'd be much worse than that? She's
Nope.
pretty close.
No.
She's pretty close. And your skin would be melting.
No. Yeah. Floor is lava. You can... I don't know. I just think that there was a lot more to nitpick in this movie,
I agree.
and when you're comparing the two, and granted, there's 3 years difference when this originally came out, so I'm sure people were just like excited to have an Indiana Jones 2 movie.
Yes.
But watching it back to back and so close and so recent of each other, I was just majorly kind of disappointed with the two movies. Again, Temple of Doom had some good stuff, good action, good story.
Yeah.
It just did not hold up, I feel, with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I agree. So, rating it from 1 to 10, what are you gonna rate this one?
Oh, so now I'm going first this time?
You're going first. Gotcha.
I want to say I did 8 last time, I think.
I think so.
And I love that movie way more than I like this one. I'm going to have to give this a 6.5.
Stole the number right from me.
Yeah, 6.5.
6.5 was my number as well because, like I said, I've watched this one quite probably a handful of times in comparison to the other ones. It's absolutely not my favorite of the Indiana Jones. It's not my least favorite, but it's not my favorite.
I haven't seen any of the other ones, so I'm keeping all these ratings in my head.
Gotcha. So yeah, 6.5 for me. So that is our review of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Overall thoughts, it was fun. It was fun to watch. Check it out if you want to. If you're tracking along with us, let us know in the comments below your thoughts, your ratings as we do this movie review and critique on the Indiana Jones film franchise.
Right, and the next one is going to be...
The Last Crusade will be the next one that we're going to take a look at.
Well, we even go back even further. We're going into the early 30s of Indiana Jones. If we're going to keep on this track record, we're going to have another prequel, right, Joey?
No, incorrect.
Oh, okay. Well,
you will find out, sir.
Why did we do a prequel with this one? I'm still frustrated about that. And
all right.
a lot of questions.
Hopefully The Last Crusade will cheer you up a little bit.
No.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.